Welcome to Say Smut, a literary podcast for readers and non-readers. Typically, I am joined by my co-host, Hope, but today we are joined by Hope and I's friend, Liz, which you guys met this summer when we did our mid-year wrap-up, but now we're going to do our end-of-year wrap-up for 2023. Liz, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Excited to chat.
This is our last mini episode for our regular listeners until February. Then we're taking a hiatus for the month of January because life is rough, and then we'll get back into our regularly scheduled programming. But looking back on the year, I just want to first ask you, how many books have you read this year?
I read 68.
That's really good. That's like, I don't know, more than one a week.
Yeah, the crocheting took up a lot of November, December. You can't do both. So.
You cannot crochet and hold a book at the same time. I have argued audiobooks, but you refuse to listen, and that's okay. I have read 107 books, which is
wow.
It's a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
I got really into audiobooks this year. You and I have some of the same book interests, but we also have some that don't overlap. So I want to go through genres really quick. I tend to read romance primarily, and then fantasy and historical. I went through a historical bug this year. But what are you reading?
My top genres were thriller, and then contemporary, if you consider that a genre. That's what Storygraph gave me. And then romance.
I know. One of mine was contemporary, but typically that goes like hand in hand with like romance.
Yeah. So thriller and romance, and then my next was mystery. So again, thrillers and romance.
Yeah. I mean, we overlap on some, but I don't. I mean, I've read thrillers that I like. I don't want to sound like I'm anti-thriller. But you definitely have critiqued the ones that I've chosen to read.
It's okay. It's a goal for 2024. More thrillers for Sarah.
More thrillers.
And in turn, I'm reading / listening to / watching more historical romance.
That is true. We kind of got you on the historical
I like
train.
history now. Who is she?
Who is she? Okay, so I'm hoping that this podcast episode will help people kind of stock their shelves and their TBRs for 2024. So we're going to go through some categories, and because it's my podcast and I can do whatever I want, and this is all about me, as we've declared in previous, and it's now all about Liz, I have allowed for more than one book choice. I definitely have. I was like, book that you would most recommend from 2023, but then I have like 3 options.
I know. I saw that, so I said, all right, I can do that too.
Yeah, you can do that. There are no rules. So to start off, would you tell me the books that you read from 2023 that you would most recommend?
Yes. Okay, so I categorized mine because they kind of overlap with my top books, spoiler alert, so I tried to categorize why I gave them. To think, I put Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. For thrill, All the Little Raindrops by Maya Sheridan. It is a little, I don't know if you swear on your podcast, it's a little messed up, so check the trigger warnings.
Do we swear on our Smut podcast where we talked about penises and fucking?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I could say a little fucked up. For fantasy, romance, sassiness, Fourth Wing, I know it's a little mainstream, but I am a mainstream girly. To Cry, The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston, and To Feel Nostalgia for Childhood, The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. So that's more than you put down, sorry.
No, but I like that you put context behind each one. I'm so glad you called out The Dead Romantics. I think I read that last year, 2022, and it was the last book I shared with my late stepmom, and we talked about, and it just, I don't know, it has a special place in my heart.
Yeah, and it's a good book, so it's like, that makes it.
It's all the feels.
Yeah. Oh my God, especially for you. You're like, all right, if I ever want to absolutely bawl, I guess I'll reread this book.
Yeah, if I just want to trigger that. So my most recommended, I tried to think about things that would be like, because there are ones that I would recommend, but I'm not necessarily recommending it to everybody, right? So the one that I'd recommend is You Again by Kate Goldbeck. I thought it was hilarious. It was witty. It was a Harry Met Sally type of concept where these people keep meeting over the course of almost 10 years and their personalities change and they kind of grow up together. like at the beginning they're kind of assholes.
Yeah, I hated them. I was like, I hate this book.
And then like you realize that's just a part of being in your early 20s.
Yeah.
And then like you grow up a little bit and you find people who challenge you. And then the second one was Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. We covered this for the podcast. I loved it. I thought it was just like, it felt like a little bit of a hug. Like I know we talk about who am I thinking? This is so terrible. Emily Henry.
Oh, yeah.
Being like a hug.
Yes.
For women in their late 20s. And it's not that kind of hug, but it's the home hug. Like this feels like home. Like she's coming home after being away for so many years. And so that's why it felt like a hug. And like, obviously there's a little bit of spice. There's some cowboy in it. I'm not a country girly, but it was very fun.
Okay, noted.
And then I am not a self-help nonfiction person.
Yeah. No.
Okay. But I love it, like you said, a good think piece, something that's going to make me think. And Wintering by Catherine May was so good. It was recommended to me when I was going through my grief period by somebody in my family. And it's all about the winters of your life and how to prepare for them and how to just like sit back and rest. Like, but it also at the surface, it talks about how cultures and animals get ready for winter, because at the end of the day, as humans, we are, living beings that also need to hibernate in some degree. Yeah. So like, how do you prepare for those times in your life? And how do you accept that when we live in a culture that's like, so like, hustle culture, like go, you have to be on all the time and we can never admit our faults. But it's not self-helpy. It's more just like this author presents the information and is like, it was interesting. She doesn't agree with everything she experienced, but she's like, it was an interesting and made me think. So that's what I enjoyed. What books would you not recommend that you read in 2023? And this is not to say that maybe they weren't our cup of tea. It's not. I will absolutely bash the one that I read, but
yeah.
What do you think?
Mine I had 2 and maybe I had 3, sorry. And one of them, and some of them it's hard when you read throughout the year because I do have some closer to now, like November, December books. But my first one was Saint X by Alexis Chatelain. Don't know how to say her last name, so sorry. And that's kind of controversial, I feel like, because people love this book. There's a Netflix series or a Hulu series.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, I hated it. It was so slow. She used like the largest words known to man, but like for no reason. And I was like, do you want me to feel stupid? And it just felt like nothing happened. So I don't know. Maybe it was too highbrow for me, but I was not a fan. I did read the whole thing, but I didn't like it. My second was My Darling Girl by Jennifer McMahon, and I just told you this book yesterday, and I think I'm just not a horror type of book girl, but also it was like completely obvious what happened, like what's going to happen, and I don't ever determine what's going to happen at the end of the book. So if like I can figure this out, like anyone could. So it was just kind of, I don't know. I explained it as a fart noise. And then lastly, also controversial, Wreck the Halls by Tessa Bailey. I just couldn't stand the plot line. I'm not kink shaming here. This wasn't a Christmas book. Like, this convinced me that Die Hard is a Christmas movie if she's going to categorize this as a Christmas book. So
I think it leaned heavily on Christmas being the timeline and not the plot, right? Yeah. So they kept on being like, we want to get these women together by these old bandmates together by Christmas Eve. And it's like, but nothing else was Christmassy about it. Not even like the extracurricular activity and scenes that they put our characters into. So yeah, no, I get it.
And also I had to read it for work book club. And again, the plot lines won't spoil anything, but not safe for work.
Yeah, don't recommend, especially if HR is in your book club.
She's not.
Thank God. Mine is Between the Vines by Grace Elena. This was I saw a quote out of context on TikTok, and I thought, that sounds great. Automatic buy. And I thought, indie self-published author.
Oh, no.
I will pay the $15 for the paperback. It was a brick. I was like, oh my gosh, this is massive. And the cover was so cute. It was supposed to be like a Bucky Barnes from the Marvel Universe, like inspired male main character. It was so heinous. And I said in my review on Goodreads, like the number one red flag was that our 38-year-old male main character was jealous of a freshly 18-year-old boy
Okay.
hanging out with the man's 27-year-old girlfriend.
Oh, no.
He was jealous of a child. And for more context, that 18-year-old is the employee of the 27-year-old. So they had to be around each other.
Okay.
I'm like, tell me why a 38-year-old is jealous of an 18-year-old.
Go to therapy.
Yeah, literally. So, and plus it just read like a diary of a teenage girl. I don't know. It just was so disappointing. And like the main girl was so perfect and nothing bad happened to her. And anyway, I just can't do that shit anymore.
No.
I have other ones that I probably wouldn't recommend, but like there are a lot of times that I read things and I'm like, okay, I didn't care for this. This wasn't my cup of tea.
Yeah.
But I can see why people like it.
Yeah.
So I'm trying not to be an asshole.
Oh, I was. I'll fart on any book.
Go
fart, fart noise.
So book that made you cry from 2023.
I had Dead Romantics, like we prefaced. I just didn't see the end coming. Cry, cry, cry.
And I think, did we talk about that in our other episode?
No, I don't think I read it yet. I read it in like October.
Okay.
Spooky.
Just so people know, the Dead Romantics is her family owns funeral home kind of, and she's been a ghostwriter for a very popular romance author. And she has this new editor who is like kind of a hardballer. And so she doesn't like him. But then she finds out that her dad passed away. And her dad were fairly close. And so she goes back home. And this isn't a spoiler because it's literally on the back cover.
Yeah.
She can see ghosts. And all of a sudden she starts seeing her editor across the country in her hometown. And she's like, wait, why do I see your ghost right now? And so it's a romance, but it's also like very beautiful about grief and losing somebody who like
family.
is just so pure in your life.
Yeah.
And so anyway, yeah, I won't talk about it too much more.
Yeah, it was like a fool. I was like, all right, I can cry. I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy, the single audiobook and nonfiction book I read this year. And that goes without saying of why, because it's a memoir about her and her issues with her mom and growing up. So obviously that can make anyone cry. And then lastly, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin was just very emotional, just the way it was written. So I love a good cry.
I do love a good cry. I realized when I was looking back on my stuff, there was nothing that made me full-blown cry. There were things that I got done with that made me emotional.
Yeah.
But I strayed so far away from crying books this year because I think I just went into the year only reading historical romance because I couldn't handle anything serious after I lost somebody. And so Clytemnestra by Costanza Casati was so good. I love Greek mythology. It's my little weak spot. And this is like feminine rage personified. And please check trigger warnings because there's a lot of fucked up shit. But she goes through so much, and it is so much about women being used by men, even though men that are closest to them, like her father and her husband. And it's just like, literally, we have to harden ourselves so many times to just deal with the day-to-day bullshit that women go through. And I think I cried because there's a really fucked up part, but there's also like, it's just so infuriating.
Yeah.
And then the other two are both by Emily Henry because Emily had me in my feels this year.
Yep.
Happy Place, which I got in my feels because I think I have said this before. I'll say it till the ends of the earth until she proves me otherwise. But she does secondary relationships so well.
Yes.
So like, not only was Happy Place about growing up with the person you love romantically over the course of 9 years, being engaged to him, but also her college friends.
Yeah.
That she was like, how do we connect when our lives are so different now?
Yeah. The like adult friendships was very interesting, especially being like 25 and being like do I still relate to people from high school that I'm friends with? Like, what do we talk about
Yeah.
now?
It's all just walking down memory lane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then the other one was Beach Read, which I'll say is her most emotional book. Just because like the main character loses her father, and she finds out after she loses her father that he had an affair. And so it's like, it's realizing your parents aren't perfect. You aren't perfect.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not condoning adultery, but like, it's realizing that there are very human emotions in the people that we idolize the most,
right.
and the people we love the most.
Right.
And so yeah, I think those were just two that had me like absolutely.
Yeah, she just does such a good job of like connecting with you and I don't know, just sparking emotion.
So on the opposite end of the spectrum, what books made you laugh this year?
I put Fourth Wing made me laugh as expected. Both Casey McQuiston books, they are really good at just humor and I just love them. They had Red, White, and Royal Blue and One Last Stop. I read both this year. And then the Off the Vine series by Tessa Bailey, the Unfortunately Yours and Secretly Yours, not Wreck the Halls. I'm sure I did laugh in Wreck the Halls, but...
Yeah, I always love a good Tessa Bailey, but I surprisingly didn't pick her. And I did read Fourth Wing. I want to disclose. I read Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, loved them both, but I like personally I'm trying to like take the super popular shit and put it on the shelf because I know they get so much publicity. I want to try and feature other stuff, but it's hard. I just talked about freaking Emily Henry, and I mean, like,
I know. I feel like most of the books I read this year were like on the Goodreads top read books. I'm like, okay,
yeah.
I am basic to my core.
Basic. There's a reason why people like it, and it's okay for us to all like things together.
Yeah.
So my ones that made me laugh was You Again by Kate Goldbeck. She's so witty. She's got the wit that like I want from Tessa Bailey, but like the serious tones from Emily Henry.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I feel like it's a good combo. Also, I think people underestimate how hilarious historical romances are because they are so ridiculous. So we did The Lady Most Willing by Julia Quinn, Louisa James, Connie Brockway for the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
If you read it, it was absolutely bonkers hilarious. Like, because it's got a little bit of that slapstick humor almost to it, but it's like the cunning, like, women are just smarter than men.
Yeah.
And, like, they're making these little, like, because everything is about language in historical romances.
Yeah.
They're not doing, like, these grand things all the time.
Yeah.
It's so focused on dialogue that it has to be entertaining to get through it. So there's so many great historical romances with humor in it, but those just made me laugh out loud.
Shocking.
Shocking.
I feel like I haven't read a historical romance yet. So
are we going to do? Well, you have you have beautiful Bridgerton books, so
2024, it's coming.
It's coming
to prepare for the new season.
A side note: I have this mentality of like I think we all do of like what types of genres I read most in what seasons, and I am fully historical romance can be any time of year, but specifically the spring.
Yeah, maybe I'll read them in the spring.
Yeah. So that's your timeline. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So books with the best smut of 2023.
You go first.
Okay. Well, I didn't include any of the books from the podcast because Hope and I just recapped our year, and you can listen to that in the last mini-sode. But if you want like realistic sexual scenes, Business or Pleasure by Rachel Lynn Solomon was so real. And I read now 2 or 3 of her two books by her now this year. Both of them had the most realistic sex scenes that were still hot. Like, but
not like coming at the same time.
Yeah, and so this one is about a guy she has a one-night stand with. She's a ghostwriter for celebrity memoirs and stuff. Okay. And she has a one-night stand with him, and she connects with him on every level, and then they have sex, and it's the worst sex of her life.
Oh, like, yeah, you never read those.
No, and then, like, she goes to a meeting with a client the next day, and sure enough, he's this washed-up teen actor, and it's the guy she hooked up with, and so she follows him to all these Comic-Cons to write the book about him, and he then asks her, like, what happened? Like, why did you leave the next morning? And she was like, it just like didn't go really well. And he was like, oh my gosh. So then he calls up all of his ex-girlfriends and is like, how bad have I been? And they were all like, yeah, you were pretty bad. So he was like, okay, I need you to teach me
Oh,
how to
slay.
listen to a woman's body. And so the scenes are like, the sexual tension was insane. Like,
Yeah.
watching a not toxic man, like, not that saying his ego wasn't bruised, because it definitely was,
Yeah. Yeah.
but like watching a not toxic man, like, listen to what a woman wants,
Learn.
talk about, like, things can feel good and you can still have a good time even if she doesn't get there, and maybe she's never going to
Yeah.
get there that
Yeah.
night, and that's okay to just like listen to your part. It was just so realistic. Anyway, then obviously my girl Tessa Bailey with Secretly Yours and Unfortunately Yours, A Vine Mess. I had so many good kind of smutty books this year, but like those were just like my cup of tea. I did read some like darker romances. I try not to feature those because I know those aren't all everybody's interests. But those are kind of the smutty ones that I would highly recommend.
Yeah, I had you go first because the Tess Bailey series was my uh recommended for smut as well. I didn't read that many smut books this year, so it's like that was my top
Ooh.
one. Yeah.
All right, on the list for next year.
Yeah. More smut.
What is a book you cannot stop thinking about from 2023?
I had three. One was Dark Matter, which is like in every category of mine, but it's a dystopian. No, it's not dystopian. It's more time travel sci-fi booky. I read it in February, so it's been forever, but like I still think about it, and that says a lot because normally I read a book and I can't tell you what it's about. So I think I described it on Goodreads as like it's giving Mr. Macy's, like if you ever watched Rick and Morty, which is so embarrassing. But anyway, Dark Matter for some sci-fi. All the Little Raindrops by Mia Sheridan, like I said earlier. Again, check trigger warnings, but basically these two people get kidnapped, and they know each other and they have like a something that connects them, but they don't like each other. But they're both in like cages and they're trying to escape. And oh, I don't want to give too much away, but it was so good. It is a little fucked up though, so just check it out. And then The Measure by Nikki Ehrlich. Some people didn't like it because it is
Me.
COVID related. Yeah, no, I literally have Sarah's copy. I really liked it as a thought provoking, but I know it's hard when COVID, we've been so involved with it that we don't want to think about it that way. But basically, everyone in the world gets a box with a piece of string in it one day on their doorstep, and it conflates to how long you have left in your life. And then people kind of spiral out of control, similar to with the COVID issues of, short stringers versus long stringers. So kind of relating to anti-vaxxers and people who get vaccines. And it was just really interesting to me. And there's a bunch of like different point of views and like five
It's a lot of vignettes.
Yeah,
too,
but they all kind of connect. It's so good. So
yeah, but there's a lot of political elements because I think what it comes down to is that somebody with a short string is campaigning against somebody who has a long string, and that's like also a whole plot point.
yeah, part of it. And like sometimes then people think short stringers don't deserve to have, rights, or they think that then they're going to go try and commit mass murder or all of these things. It's insane. I don't know.
Aggressive.
So I like thinking about it as in like, what would you do in that situation type of thing.
Yeah, I had it for a book club and I didn't finish it because I was going through a lot last winter. But
yeah,
it's a think piece.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
What were those your?
Yep, that's all my things.
Okay, so now we're gonna go down our top.
Wait, you
5.
didn't do yours.
Wait, what did I? Oh, I did not do mine. Sorry, I'm moving too fast. Wintering by Catherine May, the Wintering book.
Yeah.
And then The Secret History by Donna Tartt. It is a beast of a thing.
The print is awful. I did just buy it on my Kindle.
Yes, I listened to the audiobook and it is long. It's not going to be like the most super fast paced, but it's intriguing. Like, it's written so well. You're not supposed to really love anybody. The personalities are incredible, but it's a question of like at the beginning, the main character tells us that he's really good at lying.
Oh
And
no.
like he kind of does the thing where he kind of trips and falls and tells a little white lie and then gets him into a weird situation.
Yeah.
And so then he just kind of is a go with the flow. Okay, I guess I'm going this way now, you know, because I made this little lie. And it's about elitism and wealth and it's all about perception, how we view other people. Because as we see through the main character's eyes, you know, he views these people in this, it's an academic setting, and he's does not come from wealth, and this group he gets involved in all are fairly wealthy or has connection to wealth. And
Are you just describing Saltburn?
yeah, yes, it is Saltburn all the way through. No. So but then the actions that happen, it is so open to interpretation of like what really happened
Yeah.
and who actually cared about who, and you know what was said between those characters. We don't know, like, what kind of relationship did they have, therefore how did that impact the events that happened. And so I think what was so interesting is I went down a rabbit hole on Reddit of people just being like, okay, this one line from chapter 20 something, or like, you know, this just reveals everything. And I was like, I didn't even read it that way.
Skipped it. Yeah.
I just skimmed, but what can I say? No. So it just is so intriguing, and I feel like there's so much that I just sat on, and I wanted to talk about it with everybody.
Yeah, I think it's going to be next for me, especially since I bought the Kindle version and I can change the font.
Yes, that's so true. Okay, let's go down our top 5. Do you have any honorable mentions?
No.
Okay, well, I do, because it is my podcast. So I had Forget Me Not by Julie Soto. This is a grumpy guy who inherited his dad's flower shop, and a woman who's a wedding planner and doesn't believe in happily ever afters because her mom got married so many times, and like she just kind of views it as a big party.
Yeah.
And so
yeah.
They keep having to work together and obviously obsessed with each other. But it's got a lot of depth to it too, with her emotions around commitment.
Okay.
And so that was really good. And then Done and Dusted, obviously. Love Theoretically by Allie Hazelwood. I thought this was the strongest Allie Hazelwood book yet. I think it actually had a lot of depth to it. It was still funny and like witty and whatnot, and it had great sexual scenes, but it had more depth than the Love Hypothesis. Okay, so at number 5, I have Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I was giggling, kicking my feet. I was having a blast. I got, I probably teared up at the end of that one.
There were quite a few. My only issue with it was that I just don't care that much about history. I know I just said I love history earlier, but all of the when they include notes, the two main characters write letters to each other, and they include little blurbs from old kings and other LGBTQ people throughout history of like confessing their love. I just didn't know who any of those people were. So I was like,
it wasn't main plot though.
No, it wasn't. It was just like a little. That's what stands out to me for some reason when I remember it.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. But I loved the book. I still gave it 5 stars. It's just goddamn history.
Goddamn history.
Don't care about history.
No, but both of her books are really strong. One Last Stop too is a really good strong book.
And you haven't read their last their YA novel. Casey wrote I Kissed Shara Wheeler. It's a YA.
I didn't read their. Yeah, I didn't read that
and
book.
And it's great too. It's just more YA, but
yeah,
it's good.
What's your number 5?
Oh, I didn't rank mine. I just
You didn't rank them?
No, that's too much effort.
Oh, I did have like a little bit of a brain melt.
Yeah, I can't. So you do all yours.
Okay, so 4 was the Prison Healer series by Lynette Noni. This was so fun. Think like she is the prison healer, obviously, for a high, like, maximum security prison. Okay. And it was just so fucking crazy. It was like, it's everything I want from a YA fantasy. It had great romance, it had great magic, it had great, like, danger and, like,
that sounds good.
The whole series was great. It's 3 and it's completed. So
love that.
We love that. Number 3 is Clytemnestra as I mentioned earlier. Then 2 is The Secret History by Donna Tartt.
Wow.
And then 1 is You Again by Kate
Wow.
Goldbeck.
Yes. Yeah, it was good. I think just I started on a wrong foot when I was like, I fucking hate these characters. Like,
yeah.
I texted like 20 pages in and was like, I'm going to DNF this, but I'm glad I stuck it out. It was very good.
I think it's just like a wide, like, I feel like I could read that anytime and have a good time. And then I could recommend it to so many people too.
I did give it to my mom, even though there are a few sex scenes. I'm like, and she said she just skips those anyway. And I said, good.
Excellent.
In no order, I have Fourth Wing by, everyone knows who it's by. I don't remember.
Rebecca Yarros.
Thank you. I don't need to say their name. Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. All the Little Raindrops by Mia Sheridan. The Dead Romantics by
Ashley Poston, I think.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't write them down next to them because I've talked about literally all of these. And One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. No order though.
That's brave. You are a brave soul.
And I had such a variety.
Yeah, you really did. That's like running the gamut. So then I asked what our most anticipated releases are for 2024. Why don't you go ahead?
Okay, I have a few. Because I have a lot of immediate buy authors that are coming out with stuff, obviously, as they should, because I need more books. Only If You're Lucky by Stacey Willingham. I did read it as an arc. Look at me, lucky girl. Back in October, but I did want to shout it out because I gave it 5 stars. It wasn't quite in my top because I kind of don't remember what it's about as much, and that's important. But that comes out January 16th. Also January 16th, The Fury by Alex Michaelides.
Yep.
I don't know how to say it. I'm sorry, sir. He wrote The Silent Patient.
Yeah. And The Maidens.
Yeah, The Maidens was ass, but The Silent Patient, it wasn't ass. It was just okay. The Silent Patient I read in a night and couldn't stop thinking about it. So I do also have that as an arc. I love being so important. Just kidding. February 6th, Fangirl Down by Tessa Bailey comes out. I hope she redeems herself for that god-awful Wreck the Halls book. But it is going to be about, fangirl of a hockey player or football?
So this was so funny. She has this habit on TikTok where she'll, like, stitch videos that have romantic elements to it of, like, 2 people doing anything. Anyway, and then she'll like say what she would write a book around.
Yeah.
And one of the things was I don't know if it was during a face or a live stream or what, but she was like, I have this idea that, this woman is a fangirl for this golfer and like shows up all the time and he finds her so annoying. And then like one day she doesn't show up and he's like, whoa, wait, where'd she go? And then he like goes on the hunt for her. Okay. I don't know if that's what the book ended up being about completely, but it was hilarious when she was like fleshing it out through a TikTok video.
And she was like, you know what, I'm going to write this. And now it is going to turn into a series, I think. I
think there's 2 in the series.
I do love when she does like a 2-book series. So that one is February 6th. Here We Go Again by Allison Cochran. April 2nd. Don't know what it's about. She's just a must-buy author. I honestly can't remember her other books either. She's just a rom-com. Oh, she wrote Kiss Her Once for Me. She writes a lot of LGBTQ stuff and does a really good job, kind of similar to Casey McQuiston. Daydream by Hannah Grace comes out June 4th, and that's the 3rd one in the Icebreaker Wildfire series. Yeah. And I think it's finally going to be our boy, I don't remember his name, but Henry that we all wanted. And then lastly, The Pairing by Casey McQuiston. Again, have no idea what it's about. I just am ready to read more of their books.
So I have a couple of options. Just a few. So The Atlas Complex by Olivia Blake comes out January 9th. It's the 3rd book in a series. It's the Atlas 6 series.
It's the final book.
It's the final book.
So I can finally read the other ones.
Yeah, so if you are like Liz and I and you like waiting until all the books are released so you can just binge them, that's the best. There's also Swift and Saddled by Lila Sage, which is the second in the Done and Dusted
Is it like
series.
a friend?
It's the brother.
Okay.
So, like, it's this family. So, it's going to be the sister, and then the two brothers will have their own books. And I am so excited. That one got pushed back. It was originally supposed to come out last fall, but she got a traditional publishing deal, and then they had to, like, reorganize the publishing.
Okay.
So, that comes out March 5th. The Familiar by Lee Bardugo, who
Oh, yeah.
she wrote Six of Crows, Shadow and Bone. This is what she says is, because she did write an adult series. I'm thinking of Hellbent, but what's the first book in the series?
Ninth House?
Ninth House.
I did read like 20 pages of it. I liked it. I just haven't finished it.
Yeah, we just need to get on that track. But
yeah,
this is going to be her most romantic book yet.
Okay.
And she's very good at writing like tension and building like relationships between people. That's like, I think, her strong suit. That comes out April 9th. A funny story by Emily Henry on April 23rd. And I have a couple of others that I'll just quickly shout out. A Fragile Enchantment by Allison Saft, January 30th. It's a girl who can weave magic into clothing that she makes, and she gets hired for a royal wedding and obviously falls in love with the prince. Yeah. But he's a grumpy grump. So, I mean, it's like more gothic than I'm making it sound, but it's very fun. Bride by Allie Hazelwood. Hazelwood's coming out with her first paranormal romance. I'm like, okay, I like the STEM stuff that she does, but I'm also like, let's get out of academia. Yeah. So that's February 6th. An Education in Malice by S.T. Gibson is February 15th. It's a gothic LGBTQ, maybe polyamorous. Sorry, my cat is doing WWE on the couch right now. So anyway, that'll be kind of fun, gothic one. But yeah, there's a lot of great shit coming out this year.
Yeah.
I'm very excited. That is our full ranking. I hope we gave you so many options this episode to jot down to read next year. We have so much to read right now. So
book buying ban for January.
We say that.
Yeah,
we'll see if we follow through. But any final thoughts?
No, I'm excited for 2024.
Yeah, me too. And we will see you all in February. But until then, stay smutty. Bye.
Bye.